My name is Colin Baffa. I study at the University of Kansas, but I did study abroad at the University of Hong Kong for 2 semesters. This is my 4th year and I'm a psychology major. Kind of randomly, I knew I wanted to study abroad. I was originally thinking Spain, but there's a lot of focus on learning Spanish, which I like Spanish, but I was wanting to maybe do a different language. So then I just came into the Office of Study Abroad, picked up a random flyer and it said Hong Kong. I said, oh, that sounds really cool, I'm going to do that. Glad I did. And another thing, I'd heard that KU has a great study abroad program, so that was another motivating factor, definitely. I think the process was pretty easy. All the people here helped a lot with the process. I can't think of anything that was too difficult about it.
Okay.
I really didn't know much about Hong Kong because I picked it sort of randomly. So I didn't really have any expectations or any ideas of what it would be like, kind of just going in as a blank slate, but the orientation we had here helped a lot, teaching me sort of the history of Hong Kong, how Hong Kong was oriented, what it might be like when I went there. So I think the tuition for Hong Kong was definitely, if not cheaper, definitely about the same as here. Then the cost of living there was a lot cheaper. Food is very cheap there, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the Western food is a bit more expensive, but the Chinese food is really cheap. McDonald's is super cheap. Starbucks is really cheap, which is nice. I lived it was Tsun Chi Sun Hall. It was, I think the cost of living there was cheaper than the cost of housing here, which is a plus. There's a lot of different options for housing. There's Star Hall, which is a lot of exchange students. So if you want to meet a lot of exchange students, that's a good place to go. The one I was at, there was a few exchange students, but a lot of local students. So my roommate was from the Netherlands, which is really cool. But then there were 13 other local students on my floor, which is great. Another cool housing option, if you're a guy, they have an all-guy dorm that's built in an old castle from the 1800s. So that's pretty exotic. The class structure was very similar to here. My smallest class had about 16 people, the largest class had around 200 people. One of the neat things about the University of Hong Kong, because it's an international university, you have teachers from all over the world. So I had teachers from the US, I had a teacher from Australia, teachers from China, teachers from Hong Kong, so you really do get an international perspective on your courses. Academically, it's a bit tougher than here. One of the things that makes it hard, they use the British system of education, so a lot of my classes would have 1 test and 1 paper, and your whole grade is based on that, where we're used to sort of having maybe 4 or 5 tests, so there's not as much pressure, but there you really have to study hard before the test and do well. I would say if you maintain your same level of studying as you do at KU, you would expect to get maybe half a grade lower. So when I was there, I just took 4 classes a semester, which allowed me to study a bit harder. Yeah, but it's worth it. And now that I'm back here, school's a breeze. Hong Kong is really great because pretty much everybody there speaks English. During their grade school, they all learn English. And at least pretty much everybody I came in contact with spoke proficient English. So like if I got lost in Hong Kong, I would just go up to anybody I saw and say, hey, can you help me find where I need to go? And they all understood what I was saying and helped. Yeah, I went into China twice, which I recommend people do. It's really a great experience. The language barrier there is a bit more tough, but it's manageable. And I recommend not going by yourself. I went by myself the first time into China, and that was quite an adventure. It's so hard to pick one memory. I mean, the whole trip is just one great memory. That's not to say that there weren't tough times. I mean, you do have culture shock, you do have homesickness, but that also kind of makes the experience what it is. And but if I had to pick the best moment maybe, in Hong Kong there's the peak, so there's Hong Kong Island and then there's mountains in the back. And you can take a tram up to the top of the peak and then you can see all of the city of Hong Kong with the city lights. And there's the harbor, boats going by, and then behind that is China. it's just a really, really beautiful, almost religious kind of experience you can have there, which is awesome. I mean, academically, after being in that rigorous academic environment, it improved my study skills. So being here, I'm doing better, a lot better in my classes, which is really good. The international perspective you get is invaluable. And just, seeing what it's like in another country, then coming back and seeing what it's like, being able to view your culture from a new perspective too is awesome. 我叫 Colin，我睡在香港大学，你去哪儿？